What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for watching. Today we have another science experiment for you all. So it has been a while since we've done something like this, but every once in a while my inner child takes over and I feel the need to shoot and hopefully destroy something that appears to be indestructible. Because as we've all learned, if you have big enough guns, nothing is actually bulletproof. Last year we made some videos on the indestructible sledgehammer. It was very impressive. It stopped everything all the way up to a 50 cal, and we even managed to put a 50 BMG right on the strike face of the hammer, which burrowed like 3 to 4 inches into that solid steel. And really, ever since then, this is a video that I've been wanting to make, and it's been postponed for various reasons. But today is finally the day that we are gonna shoot a kettlebell. So these are 20-pound kettlebells. We have 2 of them, and one of these we actually did shoot last year. I don't remember what calibers we hit it with, but that looks like a pretty powerful rifle. And I would assume these are made out of either cast iron or steel. I would lean towards steel just because it's probably cheaper to make. And if these 20-pounders aren't big enough to stop the 50 cal, I will go out and buy a bigger one. But I actually think these might do pretty well. Let's find out. Now, since we're trying to shoot through a giant chunk of metal, we are gonna mainly focus on rifles. But first, I wanna hit it with the 9mm pistol, and after this doesn't do anything, then we'll step up to the rifles. By the way, this is the Canik TP9 SFX. I also like to be as close as possible to the targets I'm shooting, but for obvious reasons, I don't want to be too close to this one, so we are back quite a ways. And this is a tiny target to hit with a handgun, but I think I can do it. By the way, this is an optics plate I'm trying from Calculated Kinetics, and so far, I really like this thing. Number one, I like the way it looks, which is what's most important, but what it does is it protects the glass from getting carbon all over it. Because pistol optics are so close to the ejection port, they often get really dirty, and this has a little shelf that helps prevent that. 9mm hit right there and did nothing more than scratch the surface. So, that was a waste of time. Let's get out the rifles. And our first rifle cartridge, the 223 out of the Daniel Defense Mark 18. But before we shoot this one, I want to tell you guys about our sponsor for today's video, XS Sights. So XS Sights is basically my go-to for every kind of firearm these days. They have top-tier iron sights for pistols, rifles, and shotguns. And even when using an optic, you'll notice that I always have backup iron sights as well, because electronics can fail. Iron sights don't. There is tritium in the front, so they're good in all lighting conditions. Big and small rear aperture, of course, but what I really love about this rear sight is the close quarters notch that they've cut on top of it. So in something like a home defense scenario, all you have to do is put the front post in the rear notch and you can use them just like pistol sights. And because the notch sits on top of the donut, it automatically compensates for that height over bore offset that you get at close range. XS sights are my go-to for every type of firearm. They look great, they work great, and they're built very tough. So go check out XS sights. I will put a link down in the description box below. And again, I want to thank them for sponsoring the video. I appreciate the support. All right, let's see what the AR-15 does. I'm shooting this one right-handed because the sun is directly in the camera when I try to shoot left-handed, so don't make fun of me. Smoked it. And I put that in the exact same spot as the 9mm. Couldn't do that again if I tried. When I first came up here, I wasn't sure where it went, but I knew I hit it because I saw the kettlebell move, and then I looked closely at where that 9mm went and noticed that is a much deeper hole than it was before. So our 223 went literally right on top of the 9mm and left a tiny little dent, but still really no damage. All right, let's try the green tip 5.56. This is a steel core bullet designed to defeat hard barriers, and we're gonna shoot this one out of the BCM with the longer barrel to give it maximum velocity. It feels so weird shooting right-handed. And that is quite the difference from the regular 223. I would say that is 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of penetration from the green tip, and the regular 223 just barely put a tiny little dent. So Very impressive. All right, we're going back left-handed because I can't take it anymore. I apologize if there's a glare on the screen. And this time we're shooting the 5.45 Poison Bullet. This is also a steel core bullet and kind of like the commie version of the green tip. Of course, shooting this one out of the AK-74. I also flipped the kettlebell around so we can directly compare it to the green tip because I'm curious to see what the difference is. And by the way, don't worry, when we get to the 50 cal, we will get out the high-speed camera, so the slow-mo will get way better. But let's go ahead and see what the Poison Bullet did. Okay, so the green tip M855 absolutely smoked the 7.6 Poison Bullet in the kettlebell test. You can see the Poison Bullet right there and the green tip right there. I would say that is about twice as deep as the 7.6. Don't get me wrong, that is the second most impressive one that we've shot today, but nowhere near as deep as the green tip. So in ballistics gel and soft targets, the Poison Bullet just absolutely destroys, but on hard barrier penetration, it looks like the green tip is a little bit more effective. Interesting. 7.62 by 39 AK-47. This is a bigger bullet, but it's going slower and it's also not steel core, so probably won't do as much damage. I think I hit it. I know I hit it that time. All right, so this is pretty cool. Our 7.6 Poison Bullet is right there on the right, and our 7.62 by 39 is right there on the left. So we get a perfect side-by-side comparison of the difference between the two. The 7.62 is a bigger mark, but the 7.6 Poison Bullet is definitely the deeper hole, and then the M855 green tip is even deeper than either one of those. So for a Full Metal Jacket ball round, the 7.62 was very impressive, but not as much penetration as the steel core bullets. Well, we've only got a couple guns left to shoot, and so far this kettlebell appears to be pretty much indestructible. I cannot wait to see what the 50 cal does to this thing. Next up, 308. Probably not gonna do anything, but last round before the 50 cal. Let's see what it does. Smoked it. I put the 308 kind of low, but it'll work. You can see it is slightly bigger than the 7.62 by 39 and maybe just a tiny bit deeper, but still not as much penetration as our steel core bullets. All right, enough with the BS. Let's get out the 50 cal. And here it is, the Barrett M99 50 BMG. That is my favorite muzzle brake on planet Earth right there. So most of you are probably familiar with the Barrett. We've done quite a few videos on it at this point, and you can see how I've got it set up on the hill. I'm gonna get behind the gun, obviously, and we are at least 50 yards away from the kettlebell. So usually I would not feel the need to get back this far, but with a 50 cal hitting a kettlebell, I obviously want to be safe. All right, we're going to start with a 660 grain military ball round, and this is still the same kettlebell we've been shooting all day. I don't see it. All right, it looks like we went a little bit to the left, which is no big deal. This is not the 50 that I really wanted to see anyways, but you can see the incredible dent and the amount of damage that that 50 cal inflicted on our kettlebell. Not bad for a regular Full Metal Jacket ball round. Let's try a different one. And for this one, we're getting out the brand new kettlebell that has not been shot yet, so I can't wait to see what this does. Next up, we have the 50 cal A-Pit. This is the one that I really want to see, so hopefully I can get a direct hit. Yes. haven't seen the slow-mo yet, but from where I was at, I could see a piece of the tracer bounce off the kettlebell and land like 10 to 15 feet out in front of it. So that was pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and find our kettlebell and see how much damage we got. I've got it in my hand and I haven't looked at it yet, so I can see a crack on the backside where it almost split the handle, but back here, there is no exit hole. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely incredible. Let me get this in the sun so you guys can see that. Wow. So that went, I would say, halfway in to that kettlebell before it stopped, and obviously just blew that whole top right quarter completely off. But look at the wound track going through that thing. That is incredible. So it did not go through. I was hoping it would, but I mean, that is freaking ridiculous either way. You can literally see the perfect outline of that 50 cal bullet. It almost looks like it went in about the depth of the 50 cal projectile. Wow, that is cool. I've got to give myself some credit. That is a perfect bullseye shot right in between the 2 and the 0 in the middle of that kettlebell. And this is the most powerful 50 BMG that I personally have. If I had, you know, some of Scott's 50 cal slap rounds, maybe those would go all the way through, but for obvious reasons, I'm not gonna shoot those. There are things like Ralphus rounds and stuff like that that I don't have, but the 50 cal A-Pit is up there in terms of powerful 50 BMGs, and you can see the insane amount of damage that we got on this kettlebell. Holy crap. There's a lot of different 50 BMGs out there, and some of them are definitely more powerful. But until we get those, I would say the kettlebell appears to be indestructible in terms of we can't get all the way through it. Now, obviously we took a giant chunk off of it, but we didn't make it all the way through, which means we've got to try this again. So give me some ideas down in the comments of other 50 cals that you think might do better than this, and I'll try my best to get them. Some of them are not very easy to find, and when you do, they're like $100 a round, but I'll do my best, and hopefully we can come back out and do a part 2 to the kettlebell video. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. The 50 cal is obviously no joke, and it continues to blow my mind every single time we shoot it. So if you did like the video, please hit that like button for me, guys. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want more content, channel updates and stuff like that, of course, you can follow me on Instagram as well. Links for social media will be down in the description box below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.